Welcome back once again, as this is the FSL Wild Rift Showdown featuring League of Legends Wild Rift. We're definitely going to be getting even more fun and exciting games here, as we are your casters for the evening. It's Contra here, along with the beautiful Yuko PH, as always. And you know what? We have a lot of all these powerhouse ladies who's been able to show what they're made of here in the perfect platform here being set by FSL. And all this is presented to you by Intel and supported by Yahoo, as Yahoo is our official media partner for the event. So Yuko, I guess a few series of best of one have already concluded. We're only down to 2 matches remaining.
Mhm.
So I guess nobody wants to walk away with 0 points to end the night. That's going to be a miserable way out of this. But then again, I hope that those that may have actually suffered the deficit might be able to bounce back up, as there's still going to be more matches to come for tomorrow. So make sure you hit that like button as well as that follow button across all of our social media platform. And let's get this show underway, as we've got the picks and bans up at the ready.
Yep, apparently these ladies really want to start strong. They want to go with the fight ASAP. So yeah, do not forget that we will have another live stream tomorrow, part 2 of this showdown. Still will start at 8 p.m. First band though, for the side of GS Yugen, will be a Diana. She can be flexed in the mid lane, even in the jungle, so they would want to take this champion off of their opponent's hands. And Kay Shashalala answered that with a Zig. So no powerhouse mid laners in this game. And GS you can also ban that on Irelia.
Yeah, and I like how some of the players are already hovering their picks, and I'm taking a look at that Zed on the hands of Gambling X, and I'm thinking about whether or not will they be able to pop off, just like how in that previous matchup we've seen a dominant performance coming in from some of the players that have been able to play Zed into perfection, especially when you have Death Mark to easily pop your target. It's going to be something that's a menace to be dealing with. Now, the other bands being Camille as well as Gallo, pretty much standard stuff that we do see in competitive format, but that
Mhm.
also opens up the Renekton for GS Yugen as the first pick.
Yep, and they lock that in. Fiora is available, but you also have to remember, Ari is open, and Saya and Rakan is available as well if ever Keisha Shalala wants to get their hands on that. Just so you know, make sure that we're gonna be having 4 picks on the Lovebirds. Literally 4 players are hovering over Ari. But yeah, it will be an Ari and possibly a Fiora. Yeah, right on cue. A Fiora for Keisha Shalala.
Well, I believe that all the ladies wants to be as fashionable as Katie Ari, so that's always the high priority pick when you hit the mid lane, because of how she's so mobile, but she has that spirit rush to aim down on the target. So Ezreal gets picked up, and this is high prioritization coming in for that bottom lane. And look what we have. We finally get ourselves a Nunu and Willem to be joining our rift.
Finally, the first time we'll be seeing a Nunu and Willam for day number 1. I hope this cute little champion, but can also be a menace in the Rift, will have a win in the first pickup. But you have like, oh, first time we'll be seeing a Kha'Zix today as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it will be a assassin jungler versus a initiator slash tanky kind of jungler. So Ezreal will be picked up yet again. He has a pretty stable win rate for today, I suppose. Still very mobile, can just have a lot of damage. I guess my only concern is after he pops his combo, the Essence Flux and the Mystic Shot, even the Dushat Barrage, and assuming he does not have Flash, he is pretty much a vulnerable target.
Indeed, and I believe that even though he might just be vulnerable, there are still all the other members that could just easily back them up. So, as we move into the other picks and bans, those of you who are wondering, isn't this the latest patch? Isn't anybody playing the Kill or the Morgana? That's kind of OP right now. Well,
Mhm.
there are ways to counter it, but then again, in competitive setting, we won't be able to let it through for the sake of, players adjusting to the meta itself. So as we go down to our second phase of the picks and bans, we're already seeing a hover onto the Alistar. And I think that this is great because you could easily just knock Nunu and Willem out of that absolute zero ultimate
Hmm.
without needing to commit too much of all the other spells. So Alistar being the CC machine here is going to be very important. And if he gets into trouble, just use the Unbreakable Will to get out of the way.
Wow, a hover and a possible luck in. Please lock that in. I would love to see a luck support for today. You know, you have light binding and you have someone that can match Ezreal's global ultimate. Imagine you were able to dodge Tushal Barrage, but then you forgot there was still a final spark, and that was the one that got you. So that's a combo I'm waiting for. There is a hover on Akali. She is a hit and miss in this meta, but I would still love to see more from this ninja because she is this champion that relies on very good mechanical skills.
Now, I told you about Fiora being my main bait, but have I
Uh-huh.
told you that I'm also a big fan of Akali? So I really want to see this happen. Yes, lock that in. Huyen
Nice.
most likely will be heading to the mid lane with this pick. So this is going to be an interesting matchup up in the mid because Akali, yes, she might be uh, kind of nerfed from the past few patches, but once
Hmm.
she gets a hit, that perfect execution can strike so hard. You can even steal some of the objectives with her second strike of the perfect execution. And that's the answer to seek anybody hiding in the back line. And we're looking at Jimmy now securing that Kaisa so that if that ever were to be the case, she could just use the kill instinct, get herself or take shield to not only walk away safely, but also to assassinate any targets on the opposing end.
Ezreal and Lux versus Kaisa and Alistar. I feel like I've been transported a few patches back. Like, you know, when Wildrift was relatively new, and I like this. I like this nostalgic feeling. So as usual, Queen of the Late Game will still go to Kaisa. According to Kha'Zix, we can win. Yes, that's the
That's
spirit.
the spirit.
You can win.
Yes.
Motivate your teammates. Yeah. Killer Instinct, and you also have Ari's Spirit Rush for the sidestep, Fiora with the dashes. So I kid you not when I say that this is a very mobile lineup. You also have an assassin for a jungler and a very tanky cow, scary purple cow at the front line. So it might give a bit of a problem for GS Yugen in the early game, but they just have to, you know, keep on farming, keep on just being able to shift around the map and focus on those pickups, or maybe just not fight at all for the early game.
Yeah, and on the other side, you take a look at the blue team. You've also have a Renekton, and
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the Renekton matchup against Fiora is going to be quite favorable in that early game, and even to the late game. A Renekton can always contribute a little more as compared to the Fiora. Of course, Fiora is always down to positioning, and with the backup coming in from Kha'Zix to offer even more firepower, I guess majority of the players on Shashalala's side just hopes to snowball, looking for those opportunities one day, try to secure those objectives, and I hope to actually see an all-out battle between the two. As we take a look at the draft once again, Ezreal here being the main pick for team captain Gia's Yugen. She's just gonna be able to at least have a safe laning phase, especially with the Lux guarding her. I I think they're definitely off to a good start with the whole ideation of this whole composition that was picked up.
Yeah, they will be able to survive just fine, and I just actually want to see if they picked light binding for the first skill, because sometimes people pick the third, you know, for vision. Okay, they did get the Q first. Nice. So she can just bind whenever whoever they want, rather. They also have matching skins. That's so adorable.
Oh yeah, and speaking of light binding, it catches onto Jimmy, but she'll still be able to find that point seeker to secure a little bit more gold as the trades go through, with a
Ooh.
little bit of a prioritization onto the Renekton here as Mayan sort of move into the golems, get seeked out by a little bit of a Squire's Bloom, and that ward was perfectly in place. Shashalala immediately backs off into the base to get herself a phage so that she gets a little bit more attack speed whenever she hits somebody. But Skullcrab has to be given away, and GS Yugen should be able to get this without any challenge at all.
No challenges, but Ray Ray did try to maybe use the Orb of Deception to try and steal it, but he realized that's a 3v1 in the early game and a 1v1 here in the Brown Line in the early game, so it will not be worth it.
Yeah, and I like how both Baron Laners take Ignite, but speaking of Ignite, Princess gets burned up. It's first blood for K Shashalala's side. Ray Ray getting the first dibs. Well, they will still get themselves that Scuggler as they hope to at least shove them aside. Light Binding drops in, but Mayan isn't all two-faced, even though there is vision being secured by GS Yugen.
Princess was already very, very low in that fight, and when she was just coming back, that was the perfect time for Kha'Zix to
Snowball.
damage it further, but there will be a snowball charm did not connect.
Well, it does hit perfectly, and that root does land onto Ray Ray. Brings the Ori down to 50%, forcing her to retreat. May not actually miss too much of the minion wave, judging for the fact that it's the cannon minion arriving, and it won't be focus fire all too much. Doesn't really matter as she returns, hoping to secure the Rod of Ages quickly. And speaking of Rod of Ages, there's a little bit of nerf onto the Rod of Ages, but it's still a very reliable item to say the least.
Yeah, overall it's still pretty okay, but someone who's not okay is actually Shashalala because that was a lot of damage she just ate. Luckily, there will be the honey fruit, and she will be able to go back to her lane, no problemo.
Not at all, and I guess in this early game, nobody really wants to take an L.
Yeah.
They've already had difficult games in the past few matches. GS Yugen have lost to BTR Select in our very first game. Shashalala came to a close to take the point for their own, and this time, comms were perfect. We saw a lot of typing going on, and I guess now that they're all focused in, how fast can they actually type when they're in the midst of a heated skirmish? I wonder always.
I actually want to know because for some magical reason, pro players, even though they're very skilled mechanically, they can still type in game. I could barely even perform well in game. They're just too good. Reflex is pretty much on point.
I tell you what, Yuko, one side of my thumb has already blocked like a quarter of my screen. So honestly, yeah, I am impressed. Here comes the final spark landing onto Mayon. They have to give a little bit more room, and that allows Nunu to drop right in. They might just be able to steal this right under their noses as they give this one up. They try to dive back in, but Mayon will be dropped quickly. And Yugen moving forward, but that RPG is not going to be resulting too much, but that True Shot Barrage will chunk them all down. Flash is being popped, Charm lands, and yet again, it's Yugen to take one down.
There's just something about these. Okay, never mind. Akali jumps in and gets a kill onto Fiora. Funnily enough, GS Yugen was the one that took down GS Ray Ray. So it's a sister skirmish thing. I don't know because the moment she used Mystic Shot and got the kill onto Ray Ray. Okay, I'm out. I'm happy. It's just those funny moments. But yeah, very good to the Barrage already was able to put such damage on K Shashalala's team, and they just snowball from there. Now here they are, holding their ground at the Reparal Pit. Light Binding did connect onto Scuttler, but it looks like the ladies in red will just calmly make their exit.
Wow, they're basically snowballing right now. Only with Machine as well as a man. I mean, you saw how much Yugen managed to achieve in terms of damage, and easily. This is going to be Rift Herald secure for GS Yugen, but a little bit of push and shove down bottom side, and GS Yugen should be responding to this. As you see, Minute just rotating quickly. They get all of the turret platings off, and Gamblings just trying to zone them away from their priority target as Jimmy walks away safely.
Headbutt did not connect. Light Binding was used in the Dragon Lane just to make sure that no one was waiting in the bushes with small pokes from Ezreal and Ari. Good Mystic Shots from Yugen, by the way. It's like they have magnet onto their enemies, but Ray Ray, with the good wave here that she has, will be able to take down the minions very, very quickly. Just Yugen still the team, not the player, still holding their ground into the map. They have 3 kills and was not able to take down a third just yet. But it feels like these two teams, they want to just go on with the full-on 5v5 team fights.
Indeed, and if we take a look at GS Yugen's lineup, you don't really see like hard crowd control other than the Renekton having a basic point and click stun. Now, turret's gonna go down. Jimmy might risk her life for it. Here comes the snowball rolling right through. It hits onto the cow, but then Alistair is not really all too worried, and that final spark lands perfectly on top of Jimmy as they give chase. Now, with more of the members of K coming in the way, Mayon gets bursted down, has to force a flash. No members drop, but we have a 1v1 happening up top. Shashalala managing to proc the final spot, going at the back just to take another one, but she's taking too much damage. Has to utilize the Grand Challenge if she has, but then again, she is dropping low with Ignite, with a killing spree going down in favor of Minute. They are looking to set up this perfect dive. That charm is not gonna wither them down, and I guess Ray will still walk out of that alive.
She is one auto attack away from being 6 feet underground, but it's okay. Ray Ray is alive, but at the expense of 2 turrets, one from the Dragon lane and one from the Baron lane. So they're very engaged. Up top, Grand Challenge has been popped, and now Renekton will be the one that is in a pinch. Was able to use Flash, but Shashalala is on the chase.
Oh no. Second dash, and it goes directly to Shashalala's side, and well, oh well. I think she will be safer just hanging out with the golems.
It's very chill, you know. She could have just become quiet there, but it was dead end. So she had to be killed at some point. Now 8 minutes in, Gangplanks with that almost face check gets greeted by a piercing the Q from Lux's skill set. Now Shashalala got her hands onto the Triforce. No one actually dying. That was a lot of CC actually. Almost all of them were taken by Gamblings, but as a support and as an Alistar, you'd want that.
And surprisingly enough, K Shashalala, they're not even trying to contest this Infernal Drake. Most of the teams will be like, yeah, Infernal's the most important Drake. It gives us so much of the bonus damage. But you know what? We might not need that at all. And yet again, we saw most of their health bars were dropped down low. They get a stun off of the Fury, and instantly connected with the life body as well. But she walks away. There is the Ignite. Might just be able to take them down, but instead they get a trade, taking down Yugen. Well, Lois tries to move that all the way to the back. Jimmy could have actually engaged, but instead, look at that perfect execution. Just phased away into the darkness. Now they move right under the nose of the turret, and the absolute Zero will get themselves another beautiful catch. It's a double for Minute, and they walk away, only sacrificing Yugen.
Oh, Kha'Zix.
He jumps right in, and look at how well she navigated it out with that reset. Now, Grand Challenge opens things up, but there is still going to be more blood being spilled across the river as they manage to get 2 drops onto Yugen.
What an extended team fight. And I have to say, Lux's light binding, really binding their opponents down, but there'll be another fight.
Oh boy, Shasha. Somehow she's still alive. Well, Yugen coming with my priorities, hoping to jump on Gambling, but there is just about enough damage. That's a double as she will shift away and dodges that charm perfectly. Does have more of the mana to utilize the sped shimmy now, being brought down to 20% as they continue to pile onto Ray. And Ray, Spirit Rush away, and that is the arcane, well, True Shot Barrage being expended, but not connecting to the Ahri. Here comes the Killer Instinct, and Emily jumping right in. They hope to steal it off, but the Kha'Zix will give her live up with that attempt.
What is analysis? The teams just want to keep on fighting after that kill, after that Carol take. GS Yugen making their way up at the mid lane. Already summoned the Rip Herald as well to get their hands on that juicy last outer mid lane turret. But K Shashalala will try their best to defend this. Now that will be a jump in from this cow from this Alistar. There will be a pulverize connecting on the two, but then here comes Shashalala. The Vitals has been proc, Grand Challenge being used as well, another Light Binding has been popped, Exhaust being used as well, and K Shashalala gets to live another day. But GS Yugen, they are pretty much asserting dominance because they just want to go all in, they want to go with that snowball, they have the turret takedown advantage, they also have the gold advantage and the kill advantage.
I want you to take a look at this Akali build quickly, and she's building into a Rod of Ages, and yet again walking out with a 6-1 scoreline. That is amazing, and I love the adaptation. Doesn't matter if you have mana or not on this Akali, like, you just rely on how well she can survive when you have the scaling Rod of Ages intact, and already having the Rabadons down for 2 versus 1. Lois just going over the wall, trying to fight off this 2v1, but she's just trying to salvage this, and they won't be able to break Mayon down, but more of the members of GS Yugen have managed to at least shove the bottom lane turret, and K Shashalala might be a little too late for this.
It looks like they're still, of course, going to try to go with defense. Rabadon's being picked up by Ray Ray. And Team GS Yugen, they decide to not push, or at least not take down that last turret down at bot lane. Good vision from Lux there. We're able to see if someone was going to try and chase them down. Shashalala alone at the mid lane. And looks like this Fiora is pretty much healthy. Good to go. Pretty much ready to win those 3v1s, but I was not ready from that barrage damage coming out from Yugen.
It's just gonna leave a little bit of scratch. Well, hopefully nobody breaks their fingernails. That's gonna cost a lot with those manicure or pedicure coming down. So, as we take a look at some of the builds that have came up, so standard stuff coming in for the Fiora, and you look at the very defensive setup. You've already got Ditman's Blade up for the Alistar, but they're a little too late to move it for that, but the Pulverize lands onto 2. Hoping they land the perfect stun as the res of GS Yugen collapse, and they manage to take that dragon and eventually find Shashalala all alone in the pit. She flashes over with the Grand Challenge, still surviving, challenging minute, but she's too powerful. Goes on that killing spree as Gamblings not really having too much of a rhythm to flash away, but not enough to secure anything at all. Chimney goes over the wall, and Lois still going out for the hunt. Well, the shove comes into the mid lane, but Mayon won't be getting anything at all. Yugen still continues on their spree.
Maya tried to tried to go with the steal, but the smite was just too late, and GS Yugen still got that dragon. After that, it was just a constant asserting of dominance with their damage, with the barrage, and just very beautiful way of layering their damage. Came to a point that K Shashalala was just forced to take a step back and go back to their base. It was too close for comfort as well from Gamblings, but she made a lot of very, very good headbutt pulverize and even protobelt in pulverize. The problem was the follow-up was not always there.
Yeah, and I guess after all those crowd control that's expanded coming in from Gamblings, so you don't really have anyone else that can offer reliable stun. Maybe a charm can come out from Ray Ray, and now with that one ward being placed inside the pit, that alarms the rest of Shashalala to come in for the contest. Baron dropping low, 35%, and they quickly go in for the reset, but down bottom side, Shashalala looks for that last shred of the final procs, and with the last few strikes, they'll be able to take down Lois, but the fight continues up by the river, and they manage to get the Pulverize on top of 3. But where's the follow-up? Once again, the charm connects onto Yugen. Then this is where they hop on board. But that's enough with crowd control as they snare down that Kha'Zix as they continue on this massacre. GS Yugen winning every team fight.
I mean, you have Winter, you have Kunais, you have a Crocodile, you have Fire from Ezreal, and you have Light from Lux, and that was just textbook cleaning from GS Yugen, but that will be the is being procced by this Akali. Let's see who will be able to outplay who. Grand Challenge has been popped, and K Shashalala still being able to win that 1v1.
Oh, that's a perfect final spark, but their pause comes into play. Princess got to walk out of the Baron pit. Now they go on a 3v1, taking down Shashalala. Princess doesn't really have that much help left. They might just be able to steal this away. Is that enough damage? No, Shashalala will not get it though. GS Yugen should be able to take that perfect butt, and they manage to walk away with that Baron buff.
I believe Ray Ray was trying to get a kill there, but of course they were able to walk their way into safety. Ray Ray still on the hunt alongside Gamblings, but yeah, Team K Shashalala still holding out just fine. And looking at the items, you see Ravadons, you see those Triforces, as well as those Blade of the Ruined Kings. This is the late game, and they just have the sufficient damage for an engage and re-engage. Ray Ray might meet the wrath of the snowball, but no, she was able to use her ultimate to dash away.
Well, I guess she just saved the flash right there, and that cooldown's probably low enough for them to have it on the next team fight. But then again, the Drake's coming up soon, and we're having the Elder Ocean Drake that's going to be extremely valuable for GS Yugen, as it's already so hard to take them down. If you give them any more Omni Vamp, this is gonna get harder as it goes for K Shashalala. Another true shot barrage is missing the mark, but they're already initiating on that Elder Drake, moving right in. Gamblings need to find an opening as they all pile up, but look at that split push coming in from the Fiora as well. Shashalala hoping to bring it all the way back. And Unbreakable Will, as well as Hit by Provost, will come right through back. Well, Minute goes in for the chase. They manage to find two members of K Shashalala, but this Fiora's on the loose. Will be able to find an opening here to take down the inhibitor, but help is on the way. Always holding them back as they try to get them their hands on the Elder Ocean Drake. And Shashalala managed to win that trade out and also got that inhibitor back for K Shashalala.
God dang, this girl! That was so cool! I mean, I actually already expected that she'll be able to survive the fight against Renekton. So that's why I thought maybe Renekton will clear the waves first. But no, the moment Fiora saw this, yeah, you're gonna clear the wave, we're gonna fight. Speaking of a fight, that will be another pulverize coming through from this Alistar. The final spark hurts a lot. Ezra gets a kill onto Fiora finally. And they thought they were safe, but here comes our Nunu and Willem dashing through the snow. But oh no, he got pushed into the well. And with that, GS Yugen will just have to go back to the drawing board.
I'm sorry, ladies, but can we clip that? I think Christmas came too early. That's something that we haven't seen in a long time. That's what you get when you have an Alistar on the opposing end and you just choose to, you know, roll the biggest snowball out there. And I guess, you know, it might just be winter in some part of the region. But I'm not certain if that's the best of ideas.
They tried, you know, maybe, well, Nunu and Willem still has quite the damage, so they thought maybe they can get a knock-up and then take them down, but, you know, good sidestep, predictions, pro plays from Team K Shashalala. That was just the icing on top of the cake, or the cupcake. Now, almost 20 minutes in, it looks like GS Yugen, the team, will just clear the waves out. Mayan picked up a teleport for maybe the backdoor place because there is a ward. Okay, no, never mind. The ward died. There was a ward there in the area, lower left part of your map. Baron Nash already up, and GS Yugen, they know that their strength is in team fights, not in skirmishes like this. So Renekton will be able to get out of there alive, but here comes her engage.
Nah, that's too much for her to handle. I guess those 1v1 duels have been looking rather convincing for Shasha, but with majority of GS Yugen members moving down bot, this opens up a chance for K Shashalala to sneak the Baron, but with the TP, they manage to get back on track. Now, taking over into the Baron pit with Princess, who's right back in the middle. They could easily get this Baron, but that beautiful shot of Final Spark will get another one. Baron dropping low, and Ray comes in for the challenge as this will cost a disarray, pun intended, but Baron still goes over to GS Yugen as the Ori gets deleted.
Whoo, Ari popping like a pimple there. But yeah, it was an Ezreal, so you'd expect that from Yugen. And Renekton again left at the base to do cleanup duty. Death timers are very high, and it looks like GS Yugen will be able to get their hands on a victory this time around. What a game, what a back and forth. And I have to say, this was my favorite best of one so far in this day number one.
I gotta say so myself, and you just take a look at how well both sides actually played out. Though
Mhm.
it was hard for a majority of Shashalala side to even secure some of all these pickoffs, they've been able to hold on till 20-minute mark, and it was down to that final fight that kind of broke the camel's back, where everybody's behind that pit. They tried to sneak in that Baron, didn't really work out according to plan, with all the wards being placed up, and also for the fact that the quick follow-ups coming out of the Akali to dive all the way to the back line. We may not see
Yes.
the rest of that ace that we've witnessed, but you know, Ray was out there trying to fend them all off alone on
Mhm.
this Ari, and I guess that they just lost too much before the real fight even started.
They did not have the resources when the actual war jumped in. 37,000 on this Ezreal. Woohoo! The damage. And of course, you still have that beautiful series to remember. And yeah, initially I thought it would go over to Team Shashalala just because their composition is a lot more well rounded, and Ray was doing a great job, zoning out the opponent. She was also the one in charge of giving vision. There's a lot of good initiates from Alistair as well, with the pulverize, even in the headbutt, protobot in, and the usual combo, as well as the heals or the passive would just pop in at the right time. But what happened there was, and I said this, they knew, GS Yugen knew their strength, and that is in the team fights. They were able to just separate their opponents from being clumped together, and from there they took them down one by one.
That's right. That's the uh, round being won by GSU, and now we've had one more best of one series left for our evening. This is the FSL Wild Rift Showdown featuring League of Legends Wild Rift, presented by Intel and supported by Yahoo. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll have our last game being played out.